Right perspective makes the possible possible.
Everybody likes to win. Some people more than others.
I can't believe that all that happened and that I'm still here and I got through it.
There's something special about getting the whole team focused on accomplishing something together.
What are those 17 layers? How can we make it work? How can we do it faster?
And today we have such an incredible guest. He is Tyler Jensen.
You can achieve whatever you want. You just have to believe that you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I can control is I can control today, and I can control tomorrow, and I can control what happens next week.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Diehard Entrepreneur Stories. I'm your host, Devin Ramos, and today we have such an incredible guest. He is a seasoned real estate investor, coach, and the creator of the 7-Day Flip, recognized by HGTV as one of the top house flipping innovators in the country. His journey in real estate started in 2008, flipping houses with his father. He has since done, if I had to guess, thousands of projects. He is hands down one of the top house flippers in the nation, in my opinion. And not only has he built a multi-million-dollar flipping operation, but he's done it amidst a rising and falling market. He's taken a lot of wins and he's taken a lot of losses. And today he's going to share some very powerful stories with you. He is Tyler Jensen. Tyler, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, dude? Hey, thanks for having me, man. This is awesome.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming on. I'm so stoked to get to hear a little more of your background and hear some of these amazing stories that I'm not going to lie, I've already had the pleasure of hearing.
But, I've seen a lot of stuff in the real estate world. So
cool. Well, before we get into that, Tyler, I know you started out in 2008. It's one of the things that I always thought was really cool about you is because when I hear 2008, I remember what was going on. So anytime somebody talks about real estate or being an entrepreneur, I instantly go to that. I think like, man, that's really cool. They've seen a lot of things, right? They've seen some ups and downs. So I know you started in 2008, but if you'd share with our listeners a little bit of, how you even got into flipping houses and what's led to this amazing thing you've created at this point.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just share kind of briefly the backstory. So after high school, I served a mission for my church. So it's either you kind of go military or mission, right? That's kind of the path for most young men, I feel like. And for me, it was a mission. I served a 2-year mission for my church and kind of did that proselyting stuff, which was really good for me to kind of get some independency. And then coming home, I started going to college and I thought that was the career path, right? I wanted to go. And initially before that mission, I wanted to go be a pediatric doctor. I thought, hey, being in medicine would be the path for me. So I was an EMT. I worked as a paramedic. I did all that stuff. And then on that LDS mission, I realized that was not the path I wanted to go down and I wanted to go into business. So coming home, I realized that I wanted to get into business. So I actually became an owner in a company. So I had a mentor of mine and he's like, hey, this is what I want you to do. I want you to learn English and accounting. And I thought that was a weird mix, right? English and accounting. He's like, I want you to speak well and speak and be able to think creatively, but also to be able to speak the language of business. And so that was the start of my path is like, that's where I thought I wanted to go be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And I realized really quickly that was not the path that I wanted to do, right? I liked the idea of financial freedom, but I realized that you're trading 80 hours a week to get that financial stability. So for me, it was about real estate. So in 2008, I was a freshman in college and I was like, hey, I need to figure out a way to pay for college and to kind of fund my college path. And so I knew that real estate, I had a lot of friends, a lot of mentors that were in real estate, whether they were real estate agents, investors, and I knew that there was good potential to make money there. So my very first flip, 2008, we didn't know what we didn't know. I had no idea that the market was bad or good or whatever, right? Like I didn't know. So for me, it was like I needed to take action. And so our first flip, we lost. I did everything wrong, right? I bought it wrong. We over rehabbed it. We underestimated the ARV. We lost 37 grand. And as a freshman in college, that was more money than I made in a year, right? So I'm like, oh man, how am I going to pay this investor back? And luckily the investor was really cool. And he's like, hey, let's figure it out. You can pay me back. So then I did it again, the second flip. I made $39,000 and I gave all that money, any profit, we gave it right back to that first investor. So I had done a really terrible job and I've done a really good job. And then the third one, we made like 19 and it paid for my college tuition for that year or whatever. And it was awesome. So for me, that was kind of the taste of like, that was my master's degree in real estate, if you will, is like, okay, I know what not to do. I know that I can make money at this and be successful at it. And then since then, like you said in your intro, I've done hundreds of flips and really perfected that system of flipping houses and just doing it really well. So yeah, I kind of worked in corporate America for a while. I was a COO in a couple different positions and then realized again that that wasn't the place that I wanted to be. I wanted that financial freedom, but I also wanted freedom of time to raise my young family and spend time with my wife and kids. And so real estate kind of provided that option for me and haven't looked back since. So that's the backstory, I guess.
I love it. So it sounds like when you did that first flip or those first couple flips, you already had it in your mind that you were going to build a business around this. Is that what I'm hearing?
It was kind of a side hustle for me. Like, okay. I was really doing it to pay for college, right? Like I could either go work 50 hours a week and pay for college, or I could go flip a house and pay for college. And so I did both, right? I worked during the day. I would go to school at night and I would flip houses during the weekend. And those first houses, I did everything. I watched 1 million hours of YouTube and I set tile, and my friends were on spring break and I'm setting toilets. And yeah, man, like that was a true education on flipping houses for me, because I did it all, right? Like I would hire people to consult to make sure I wouldn't burn the house down. But most of the work I did myself. And I realized I was only making like $10 an hour anyway. So it wasn't worth it for me to flip. So I got a lot smarter and kind of became more efficient at flipping houses. But yeah, that's where it all started, man, was just me getting in and figuring it out.
I love that, man. So how long did that go on for until you were like, all right, let's scale this thing out, maybe build a business around it, or step out of the company a little more, whatever your progression was. How long did that really take? Did that happen like right when you got through school, or?
Yeah. So I graduated, I got my degree in English and accounting. I did a dual major. And so I did school. I would work during the day. Again, I'd go to school at night. And then I would just side hustle doing real estate. So I would do 1 or 2 deals a year. It would be enough to pay for college. I still had my day job. I was an owner of a manufacturing company. And so I would do that during the day. And yeah, so I just kind of finished school. Right out of college, I became a COO for an investment company. I had 128 employees. I made really good money right out of college. And it just was a life suck, man. Like I just felt like I had employees that were being dishonest and having all these moral issues and just so many things, right? And so I got burnt out of that corporate America really fast. So I did a couple other things. I went on to be another COO. I was a director of operations. I kind of took that corporate ladder, but still flipping houses on the side. I would do 1 or 2 a year. And then it kind of came to this path that I could see that I was making more money in real estate than I was in my W-2, right? Or I had the potential to do that. So I kind of came to this crossroads. And again, after my degree and all this stuff, I'd been in corporate America probably 6 or 8 years, somewhere in that. And we had closed on 2 houses at the same time. And it was like within a week of each other. We closed on a house and then we closed on another one. And that was like really eye-opening to me, that I was like, hey, I have enough money that I can survive for 6 months. So I came home and I told my wife, I said, hey, hon, I have this crazy idea. I want to quit my job, right? She's like, what? Like, you went to school, you have this degree, like you have a great income. Why do you want to quit your job? And I was like, hey, I just feel like this is potential for me. There's this crossroads, right? That I feel like I'm losing money by going to my W-2 every day. And so for me, it was like, luckily I married the right woman, like most of us. I know your wife is an amazing woman and you can probably attest to that too.
Yeah, and, she is. Thank you.
And so for me, it was like, hey, I'm still going to go to the office every day. Only the office is going to be in the basement instead of at the actual office. I'll pay us a salary just like you're used to. And then my wife's like, well, her biggest worry was, what are we going to do about health insurance? And I'm like, well, if I can figure out health insurance, then we're good. So that was her biggest issue. But she's like, all right, I'll give you 6 months. And then if 6 months you don't have this business and you're not making money, then you have to go back and get a job. And we tried that and it didn't work. And that was, I don't even know, 10 years ago, right? So that's been a long time that we've been flipping houses. And so it just made sense to kind of take that and turn it into a business. And then for me going forward, I could kind of control that destiny. And so it was like, hey, I can do this and I can make it a business and I can be profitable and still have those things that I really wanted, right? Financial freedom and freedom of time. And then also to be able to give back, right? And to do coaching and to mentor. And we started a nonprofit foundation and just all those things, right? So real estate to me was just the vehicle that got me where I wanted to go. Yeah.
And it's grown like wildfire for sure. Man, thank the Lord for wives that care.
For sure.
I was chuckling because that was Shelby, my wife's big concern too. Not like her biggest concern, but it was a big one too. She's like, well, what are we going to do about health insurance? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. And she's like, well, what about like the cost? And I'm like, I don't know. We'll figure it out, So it's funny, but okay. Man, I didn't know. So it sounds like you owned a manufacturing company and you were a CEO and you were flipping at the same time. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, totally. So I came in and I put in sweat equity for this manufacturing company. So again, one of my mentors, the mentor that told me, hey, go get accounting and English. He's like, hey, I'm buying a company. I want you to come in and run it and run the operations for me. Go to school at night. Like we had this all mapped out. And so I was able to earn ownership. I still have ownership in that today. I don't do anything with that company, but still have ownership in it. And yeah, so that's where I got my start, man, and it was in manufacturing. And looking back, I'm like, man, that was the perfect thing for me because it's how do we take one thing and really make it super efficient and create a process to get this product out as efficient and as cheap as possible. And so I took that education and then right out of college, I was again into manufacturing. I was a COO for a food manufacturing company. And I just could see this like, hey, this is how we run Lean or Six Sigma. If you're in the manufacturing world, you know what that is. And so I took the same idea and the same concept of manufacturing. And I said, how do we implement this into real estate? And how can I do it mechanically and methodically like flipping houses? And that was the 7-day flip was born out of that, right? And so it was just how do we do something really lean and really efficient and take these principles of manufacturing but turn it into real estate? And that for me was like a big a boost, I guess, to like, hey, really understand the process and running through E-Myth. And I've read that book 100 times and all those things that how do you just run lean and efficient and run a good, solid business. And those principles I just implemented into the real estate side, and that it helped me kind of scale and grow my business.
Yeah, that is amazing. So it sounds like, I mean, you had these thoughts of maybe being a doctor, and then kind of realized you weren't going to go that route, and then started looking at business. But you've been feeding that entrepreneurial spirit of yours this entire time, huh? For sure.
I tried being in the office 9 to 5 and getting 2 weeks of PTO and all of that. And something inside of me it doesn't fit. And so for me, I just had to kind of chase that. And I've had to go back to that, right? And go back to that 9 to 5 and just grind it out. But for me, it was like what did I really want? It was that time freedom to be able to enjoy my kids, right? Someone told me you only get 18 summers, right? 18 summers with your kids, and that goes by super fast. And so for me, it was like that was a high priority to me, is to be able to watch my kids grow up, and then also to be able to support them and give them opportunities that I never thought possible, nor they thought possible.
Right. Yeah, man, I love that. And it's also so cool to see, I get to see your results, the things that you share and everything like that. Not so much what has gone into it, but like hearing your story, I can totally see how you like really built that foundation and why maybe you focus on operations, like why maybe you just crush it at flipping and have continued to build. And, there's other people that bring different skill sets and maybe crushed it like wholesaling or, any number of different things. So it's really cool to see yours in that like operational focus. Cause I didn't know that about you. I didn't know that you had this like, you'd been honing that skill for years along the way.
Yeah. And it really comes back for me is like, if you look at my personality index or what my personality is, I'm really driven by winning and also by people, right? People more so than even winning, right? I want to be like, I don't have to be the Michael Jordan and take all the credit and give me the shot at the last minute. I'm okay to be like a John Stockton or someone, right? That, hey, if we can win together, like I'm okay to pass the ball and win and help other people win. So I realized, and in my business it's all about people and process. So if I can have really good people and a really good process, that to me was a formula of success because I saw it happen in the manufacturing world. I had the right people in the right places with the right process. And so for me, it was like, hey, how do I create this? And that's really how I built my business is finding the right people, creating the right process, and something that we could just do over and over and over again and get really, really good at it. So I got laser focused in flipping houses and kind of that process and just really dialing it in. Wholesaling and multifamily and all that other stuff was just distraction. And so for me, it was like, how do I be the best in the world at what I do? How do I be the best house flipper in the country? And for me, in order to do that, I get distracted really easy, right? Like call it entrepreneurial ADD. And so like we just have all these shiny objects. So for me, I knew that my personality was that I had to have people and processes and I had to just be laser focused and go all in on one thing. And that's what I did. And so for people that are just getting started and listeners and stuff like that to me is your advice, my advice, right? What are you really good at? For me, people is what I'm really good at. It's my superpower. And how can I use what I'm really good at and make it repeatable, right? So I can find the right people, I can do the right process. And if I can just keep doing that over and over again and just stay laser focused on it, just law of attraction is that you're going to win, right? Like you keep that focus where Tony Robbins always says, where energy flows or where focus goes, energy flows, right? And so that to me was like, I just had to go all in on it and get really good at it. And I did, right? And now looking back, I'm like, that was how I built this successful business.
Yeah, I love that. Would you say that, as you said, looking back, that the hindsight's kind of 2020 as you figured this out, or earlier on, did you sort of discover like, yeah, people and process, that's what I'm going to focus on and just go all in on those like very intentionally? Yeah,
that for me, it was intentionally because I felt like I knew that I'm really good at building a team. I'm really good at connecting with people and I really like people. And so that talent kind of kept coming up over and over until I really finally recognized that was what I was doing. So I don't know that it was intentional in the beginning, but looking back, I'm like, I was using my skill set and my strengths and I was using that to my advantage, right? Like, how do I do what I'm good at and I love doing? And how do I make money by doing that process? So
yeah, that's good. So question for you, you had mentioned you really like to win and you really like people and connecting with them and stuff like that. And I totally see that in you. So for somebody that's in a similar position to you, they really like to win, they really like connecting with people. How do you find the balance, or maybe there's not a balance? How do you go about winning and connecting with people without like one of those two overriding the other? Here's what I mean by that. What I've seen is a lot of times someone might kind of get too focused on winning and they just like crushing the team. And then the opposite, on the flip side, sometimes they're just so worried about like connecting with the team and like making the team feel good.
Being
that, like
friends. Yeah.
There's no accountability. Exactly. And nobody's winning. Like everybody's just talking. Like, how do you balance those two?
Yeah.
Or how have you balanced those two?
Great question. And that is still something that I have to learn. And like, because I'm always the guy that I'll trust you. Right. As soon as I meet you, you get my trust until you lose that trust. Right. And so that's been good and bad. I've had experiences that have turned out really well from that. And I've had experiences that have turned out very bad about that. Right. That I put trust in the wrong people. So it's still, for me, is like, I'm always learning and always growing. How do you control that? Like, how do you get them to be bought in? And for me, like the first 7-day flip that we did, for example, was a great, like, to me, that was winning. I was sick of all of our flips taking 6 months and going 100 or tens of thousands of dollars over budget and all of that stuff. So for me, it was like, how do I get people's buy-in that we can both win? Right. So I created this. I told my project manager, I came to him one day and I said, hey man, like, I want to do a flip in 7 days. He's like, that's impossible. You can't do it. Like, keep dreaming. Right. And I was like, well, what would it take to do that? And he started going through the list and the mechanics. Oh, we'd have to have materials on site. Okay, we could figure that out. We'd have to have people lined up. Okay, we could do that, right? We'd have to have a really solid scope of work. And then the more we kind of talked about it, then it was like, yeah, this could actually make sense. We could flip this house in 7 days. And so we spent hours and hours planning this 7-day flip. We had no idea what it had actually looked like. And we found the perfect house. And I said, hey, on Thursday, we're buying this house. On Monday, we're starting a 7-day flip. And my project manager was like, okay, let's go. And for me, it was like bringing this team in and this synergy and being like, hey guys, we're going to achieve something together that no one has ever really done before, right? At least not to scale. And so we're like, hey, how do we win together? And everybody was so bought in. We did that. It was a $50,000 renovation. We did it in 6 days. And everybody was so bought in that we didn't even need the 7th day. We had a barbecue and hung out on the last day of the flip because everybody had that same. We had the process, we had the right people, and I was really good at creating kind of both, right? Like, I want to win, and this is what winning looks like. How can we help each other win? And so for me, that was a killer. I wanted the wheels to fall off. I wanted it to just explode, and then we could take it apart and figure out what went wrong. And it went so right that I was like, man, there's something here, right? And it was a huge lesson for me. Like, how do we do both? And can we do both? Can you win and still get people's buy-in? And so it's not always that easy, right? And even now in my business, it's challenging to get people to stay motivated and to win. And sometimes I've held on to people too long. I should have let people go a lot sooner than I did. And I should have fired them, and I should have, instead of giving them the benefit, oh, he's just in a slump, like he's an acquisitions guy, hasn't got a deal in 2 months, but I just need to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, he's not performing, and I'm much better at seeing that a lot faster now. But that's a skill. That's something that I had to develop over time and still am developing, for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. And by the way, on the 7-day flip, I'm pretty sure you had other projects going on at the same time, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Like
so other projects and then
dozens or something.
Yeah. And then
I love that.
We just repeated it again. And I've done a 7-day flip over 30 times now, like that we knock out a full renovation. These aren't just paint and carpet. They're full rehabs. But yeah, it was just like, how do we become the best of the world in this? And how do we be really efficient, have the right people, all the things?
It's so cool. What I also hear too is the same idea I just see in my life as an entrepreneur. Like, you push the limits, and then once you don't quite have the belief, but you're just like, we'll try this. But then once you do it, you're like, holy crap. Like, I was thinking so small, and then, you dream bigger and you go bigger. And it's so cool to see that, because, at least where I'm at right now, I'm like, man, you'd have to be so dialed. Like, we got a flip coming up and the scope's about $50,000. So I'm just thinking, like, how dialed we'd have to be, to get that done in 7 days. Like, man, that's so cool. And then, as you pointed out, it's like, almost became your standard. You did it once and you're like, all right, well, let's do this again. Yeah. Yeah. So cool.
And we don't have to do a 7-day flip on everyone, and we don't do them very often anymore anyways. Right. Like, but the knowledge and the experience that we got out of that we understood, we kind of could see under the hood, if you will, like, hey, what does it really take? I can tell you there's 17 different job layers that have to happen for any successful flip. What are those 17 layers? How can we make it work? How can we do it faster? How can we, have these tricks of the trade that we stack contractors? And I talk about all that stuff all the time, but it's really like, how do we see how this thing works? And now we're better because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then all the added benefit too of, there's something special about getting the whole team focused on accomplishing something together. And everybody's eye is on that prize. And, as you had pointed out, day 7 was like, hey, we don't even need day 7. We're just going to have a barbecue. I'm just imagining that. And I bet that did so much for cohesion and morale and just, it's everybody likes to win. Some people more than others, but everybody loves that process of intending to do something, putting the work in, struggling, and coming out on the other side victorious. So
for sure. I totally agree with that. And even learning that skill set, one of my really best friends, Andy McFarland, he's been a mentor to a lot of us. And we use that skill to do good, right? So 3 years ago, we found a family, a single mom. Her husband had committed suicide and just really devastating. But we said, hey, he came to me and he's like, Tyler, could we flip this house in 6 days? I said, yeah, no problem, man. Let's do it. So we did a $60,000 renovation. We sent them, it was kind of like extreme home makeover, right? We sent them on a vacation. They came back. We'd fully renovated their house. And we did it all for free, right? The mom we raised money for it. We did all these things. And that experience was what it was all about to me, is hey, I had not buried my talents, right? If you will, we had created this talent and I had experienced something and I was really good at it. And Andy came to me and he trusted me that we could get it done. And we did it, and it blessed this family's life. And so for me, it was okay, cool. All of those flips and all of that headache and planning and everything that we did, that was the epitome of hey, this is why I learned that lesson, right? It was really cool to just be able to be in that moment and give back and use our skill set and to teach more people about it, right? How do you get more efficient in your flips? And I've taught several classes and people all about that. But yeah, that to me was a really cool eye-opening experience that, hey, this is what was leading up to that.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I love it, Tyler. Well, I know that you've had a long journey so far, and I started flipping in 21, 22. I did some burrs and then started flipping in 2022. And I know around the latter part of 2022, things started to change. And it feels like, at least for me in my market here in Clarksville, Tennessee, it's continued to change. And what I've heard from a lot of people like you and Andy McFarland and guys that are a little more long in the tooth is that the market's shifting, but it's more so just getting back to the fundamentals and getting back to how it's been, how it was, and not what came about from, post-COVID and all that sort of thing. I'd love your take on it. And I'd love for you to share with our listeners your journey through that time, because I know, at least for us, we lost some money on some flips. We did some bad deals. I know you guys had some bad deals. You had a host of other things going on. I'd really love for you to share that with our listeners. Yeah.
It's fun, being on these podcasts, right? That you always hear the good. It's like the Facebook of, hey, our life is great, right? But that's not always what happens. And yeah, for me, it's not always, as Rocky says, right? Sunshine and rainbows, right? And that's not it, right? That's not the point. we see these, sometimes it's in our face, right? That social media, everyone lives this perfect life, and that real estate and flipping houses is so easy. But yeah, to your point, right after COVID, if it looked like a house, we could sell it in days for $50,000 over asking. And that was kind of the feast, man. We were just cranking it. We had our best year, 2021. It was amazing. Like, you're coming off this high that you're like, holy cow, people that were terrible flippers were making money, right? Like they would buy a house and it would appreciate and they'd make 25 grand. And even though they screwed, like if I would have done my first flip in 21, I probably wouldn't have lost money, just because if it looked like a house, you could sell it. And so we kind of knew that that was not real and that was kind of inflated. And this is the effects of COVID. And you just kind of had this really low inventory. So we're coming off a high, 2021, 22. It kind of carried into that a little bit. And then July, August timeframe of 2022, the market really shifted, right? Interest rates tripled overnight. They went from a 3% to almost an 8%. And everything kind of froze. Buyers stopped buying. All of our cash flow stopped. So we had almost 40 properties that we had in inventory that we couldn't move. And when you're used to turning a property and selling a house every 9 days, at one point in 2021, we were on track to do that. We were moving a house every 9 days, and everything froze. And so we had to kind of figure out what happened. And then that started a domino effect for our company and for me mentally, like what happened and how we had to restructure everything. And so 2022 happened. We lost, we had I think we had 37 houses that we got stuck with in our inventory. And we really had to be strategic. We had to have tough conversations with investors to be like, hey man, we don't know that we can get your money back. We're going to lose money on this house. And talking with Andy again, a great mentor of mine, he's like, dude, you just got to start getting rid of this bad inventory and bringing in some new inventory. But I was so focused on trying to make it right with people and investors and trying to just pay everything off that I kind of shut the pipeline down a little bit, because this was a bigger fire that I had to attend to. And so 2022, all this stuff happens. I had a business partner on the East Coast. That business was failing as well. I'm putting good money after bad. They're struggling. There's some issues over there, like just not a great partnership. And so that's all happening. We're bleeding in on the East Coast. We're flipping houses in North Carolina and Virginia. I'm in Utah, same thing happening. We're in Utah and Wyoming at the time. So I'm in 4 different markets. We have all these houses. And I just start spiraling, right? Like I just start thinking, man, the world is falling. We're losing all this money. So, and it's hard when you're in that dark place that you just can't see the way out of it, right? You can't see that, hey, when is this going to end? And so it just kept getting worse. And so we're losing all this money. We have some embezzlement. We have all these things that are happening. And then my dad, who is my first cheerleader and my first investor. And like you said, him and I started in 2008, flipping houses. We would do wholesaling before it was cool, right? Before it was, we would buy these short sales and we'd negotiate short sales and do A to B and then B to C closings. And so my dad was kind of that first inspiration to get into real estate. And I remember that, like with him, summer of 23 now. So all this is happening. My business is falling. I've got this bad business, this partnership. We have some health issues. And then my dad just passes away, right? Like I was with him on Saturday morning. We had dinner with him Sunday. And then Monday morning, he just didn't wake up. And so that was really like devastating to me. And then it sent me in this other thing that now I had to take care of my mom, right? Who had been a stay-at-home mom. She doesn't have a lot of skills. My dad had done everything for her. I remember my mom, after my dad had passed away a couple weeks later, she's calling me crying at the gas station. She's like, I don't know how to put gas in my car. Your dad always just did it. For 40 years, he's put gas in my car. I don't even know how to do it. I don't know how to scan my card or where to put gas in. And so that was just a huge, tremendous, like I had to pay for my dad's funeral and my business is struggling, and man, it just started falling. And then a month later, I totaled my truck, right? And I'm like, oh, what now? My business is collapsing. I lost my dad. I just totaled my truck. It's starting to sound like a bad country song, right?
Yeah.
Just like what my life And I'm like, oh, the dog is next, right? Or something.
Yeah.
I lost the truck and all these things. And man, it just keeps getting worse. And we just keep going through this storm and getting through that. I had PTSD of just answering the phone because I knew someone on the other line was going to be pissed off at me. And it was a huge struggle for me mentally. And luckily, like Devin and I are in a great group. It's 7-figure flipping. And I have some peers in that group, Andy McFarland that I've mentioned before, and Terry Berger and Becca Shea and all these guys that were just there for me. Right. And having people in your corner talking me through it and walking through the next decision. And it was hard because you feel like you're in this mist of darkness and you don't know which way is north, right? Like I just need to take a step forward and I don't know which way to go. And so, yeah, it wasn't easy and it was hard and challenging, and it hurt my relationship with my kids because I was depressed and I had anxiety, and my wife and all these things. But it kind of came to this moment of clarity that it's like, for me, I can control what I can control. And I couldn't control the market. I couldn't control that interest rates went to 8%. And I couldn't control that I had totaled my truck. It wasn't my fault. And all these things had just happened that were out of my control. And for me, it was like that really bounce back moment. We got rid of that, the last house of that 37. And it was like, okay, like I survived through that. That was the hardest 2 years of my life. And it was really this moment of clarity that like, hey, like I have enough skills. I am strong enough. I have enough resources, right? And telling yourself, changing that mental game in yourself for me was huge because I was telling myself that I was a failure and that I had lost all this money. And once you change that paradigm and you really start changing your perspective of what happened and could I have done something different? And what did I learn from that? That it's really that I just started rebuilding that business, right? I had to fire all my employees. I had 22 rental properties that we were running as Airbnbs that I lost. I had an 11-plex. Like we liquidated everything. It felt like Job, right? Except luckily I got to keep my family. Yeah. And then early 2024, my 3-year-old gets sick and we end up a month in the hospital. And I remember vividly, like just being in the hospital with him and you hear these lights and these sirens, right? He's hooked up. He's got the NG tube. He has pneumonia. They had to put a double chest tube up into his lungs. And I just remember sitting with him one day and you start seeing all these things. His oxygen starts dropping, right? And all these bills come off and all these doctors or whatever they call it. And man, like, to me, I thought in that moment, I was like, this is it. I'm going to lose my son, right? I have 4 boys. We call them the testosterone zone at my house, right? So it's all boy all the time. And he's my littlest, my little 3-year-old. And I couldn't control that moment. I couldn't control the outcome of what that was going to happen, right? And luckily, like they put some oxygen on and he came through it. But man, that moment changed my life, that what was really important to me. And going back to all those things that we talked about in the past, what was important to me was making money and being financially free so I could spend the time in the hospital with him. And then also that time freedom, right? Going back to those basics that we talked about earlier when I first started my career, that I had kind of lost sight of that. I'd lost sight of that purpose and that why. And so when something like that happens, that you think you're going to lose your kid and there's nothing you can do about it, I realized, man, I'm grateful for the time that I had. I'm grateful for the finance that I had in place that I could be there at the hospital with him. And it wasn't easy. Like we lost everything. But now I'm like, man, I am so grateful. And it just changed my perspective on what's important to me. And that has helped me, again, regrow my business. And now I have so many opportunities and so many things that have come our way because of that I'm like, man, I'm going to crush it. Like what I did before, that was nothing. Like I'm ready for Act 2. And yeah, just, man, everything that could go wrong went wrong in my life. And I started to believe that. I started to believe that imposter syndrome and all those things. But it really just changed that moment of knowing that I could lose everything, including my little 3-year-old boy. And I was okay with that. I was like, hey, if this is what my path is and what I need to do, then I'm okay. And I can't control that. What I control is how I live tomorrow, right? And what happens tomorrow and what do I do? And yeah, just changing that paradigm shift for me has really been kind of that momentum builder. Is just taking that one day at a time and just getting small wins. I hate running. I still do, right? Like I hate going for a run. To me sounds like torture. But for me, it was like, hey, I got to run to the mailbox. And that was day one. And I ran to the mailbox. And then I ran to the neighbor's mailbox. And then I ran to 4 houses down in the neighbor's mailbox. Now every single morning I'm getting up and I'm running 3 miles. And I'm doing all these things, right? My son and I are going to go do the Rim to Rim in May. We're going to hike the Grand Canyon, 24 miles. And it's those little wins. Same thing with life or real estate or business, right? I had to create I was getting negative momentum, and I had to change that paradigm and realize, hey, I can get some little wins, and creating these little wins for me, setting a goal. Hey, wake up tomorrow at 6 o'clock. That was a win for me. And if I could do that one day, then I was like, man, I could do it for one day. Could I do it for a week? And if I could, that's going to be harder. A week is going to be harder. Could I do it for 2 weeks? Could I do it for a month? Could I do it for 6 months? And as I started creating some of that momentum, it just was like, hey, I'm good enough and I'm smart enough and I have enough resources. And you start telling yourself these affirmations and start believing them again, that it really changed that mindset for me. So I'm excited for the comeback story, right? And we're living that now as the comeback story that I promise you it's going to come back and it's going to be tenfold. And I'm excited for what that happens. And I don't know what that path looks like yet, but I'm in a much better place than I was a year ago, for sure. So sorry, I rambled on a lot, but hopefully that's the story you wanted to hear.
That was great, Tyler. And I love how you said, I'm ready for the comeback. I think at one point you said, I'm ready for act 2. Cause as you're telling this story, I'm just thinking to myself, like, how could you not bet on somebody who's, sitting in front of me right now, continuing to run his company, is on, headed, uphill now. Like he's like made it through the valley. And when you look back, it's like lost his father, lost, I'm just guessing here, millions of dollars, lost assets, had somebody embezzle money. Have no clue how much money was lost there or like what legal battle that was. And just like all these things, like you overcame those. It's like, if I had to guess, you have like some sort of confidence now that you're on the other side. Like, holy, I just made it through all this stuff. Am I guessing accurately there?
Yeah. And man, it just feels like it's one more thing, right? Like it just kept stacking, and my dad, and then the truck, and then this, and then that, and then my son in the hospital, and then my wife gets diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and just all these things, man, like everything just that could have gone wrong went wrong. And now it's like laughable that I'm like, oh, what even happened? Like, is that even like telling my story and like hearing it out loud is like, people aren't even going to believe this. Like, this is like in the fiction section. But yeah, man, looking back, it was really hard, but it's exactly what I feel like I needed to really kind of change that perspective again, is that, I tried it doing my way, and I did it really well. And then I felt like, man, I needed to come back and how do I rebuild that and do it God's way, right? And believing, God-fearing or not, right? But I felt like there's just something more that I needed to do. And I'm not out of it yet, right? Like there's still trials and there's still things that I'm like, oh man, really? Like this is still 2 years later and we're still dealing with this thing. But it's okay now because my perspective is a lot different, that I'm like, hey, I can't control how other people feel or what they feel about me. And man, I'm just excited to see opportunity and talk with guys like you and collaborate and how do we do things better. And yeah, man, so a great lesson for me. So looking back at all those things that you talked about, for me, it was like, I can't believe that all that happened and that I'm still here and I got through it. But that's just a test that kind of time heals it, man, right? Like time will heal all things, whether it's grief and you lose someone you love, or it's a bad partnership, or it's having 37 houses, all lose money. Like all of money will ebb and flow, and that's okay. And I can't control some of those things. But what I can control is I can control today, and I can control tomorrow, and I can control what happens next week. And am I going to go for that run? Am I going to sleep in? Am I going to, I can control that. That's something that I can control. And for me, focusing on those things has been a huge game changer and just made a huge difference in my life. So I'm glad it happened. I don't wish it upon my worst enemy by any means, but it's what I needed to have happen in order for me to hit that ejection handle and the reset button. And so, yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, that's good, Tyler. I heard you say a few times the word loss, and just for where I'm at in life, I feel like that is one of the loss is the commonality in a lot of life's most painful lessons, whether it's loss of money, loss of job, loss of loved one. It's just this. It's almost like the grieving process is always surrounded by this loss of something. And that's what I hear in your story is just loss after loss after loss. But as you pointed out, you're now winning. You've taken these losses, you've learned the lessons, you're turning them into wins now, and it's shifted your perspective. And the biggest thing that I hear, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it sounds like now you're operating out of a place of faith. Like you're just moving in faith. You made the comment, you're like, yeah, I could lose my son and I can't control that. What can I do but stay faithful and keep moving forward? So that's a lot of what I hear. Am I correct on that?
For sure.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. All right. So a tactical question I got for you here, because I know that you said you were selling a house every 9 days. That's incredible. You're on track for that. And just based on what I know, the way that I operate, you probably have a lot of lenders that are repeat lenders. You're going back to them. So they're just they got money turning with you. And then all of a sudden they don't. And you're like, hey guys, it's going to be a minute. I think this is something that isn't talked about a lot. The risk side of things, we talk about how raising the capital is a skill and asset management and all these things. But the reality of the situation is, there's always risk. There's absolutely risk, and it doesn't make you a bad person. I mean, every one of my lenders knows I could potentially lose money, but my promise to them is I'm going to figure it out. And I know that we've talked about this, and I know that you're coming from that same place. You're like, yeah, anything could happen. I don't know, but there's, I can control what I can control, and I'm going to control figuring out how to pay you back, how to make it right. So I understand that sort of mindset. Tactically, for anybody that might be in that situation, even on, a 100th of the scale that you were, how do you navigate that? What, now that you're on the other side and you've sort of learned some things, how do you navigate that? What are your recommendations for handling those conversations, or, just overall strategy?
Yeah, good question. And really it comes back to controlling what you can, right? I wasn't with a lot of my investors that I wasn't being malicious. I wasn't driving a Ferrari. I wasn't doing anything like that. And so I wasn't willingly trying to deceive them or anything. And my advice looking back, and I've had this conversation with a lot of investors, what do I say? I'm going to lose money on this deal. And it is a risk, and we don't talk about that enough. A risk for you borrowing other people's money, and a risk for them in putting their money into a deal. And they have to control those decisions. At the end of the day, they made the decision to invest in you or invest in the asset or whatever. And and they have to accept those risks as well. And so for me, it was really just being transparent with a lot of these investors and having those hard conversations that a lot of time I just wanted to curl up in the fetal position and cry myself to sleep, right? And not answer the phone. But it was really important for me to try and be as transparent as I could with those investors and say, hey, this is the situation and this is reality and this is the market and this is where we're at. What do you want to do? How do we win together? How do we both come out of this as undamaged as possible? And there were some investors that they just said, you know what? Screw you, and I don't want to work with you. But I sincerely tried to say, hey man, let's figure this out. Could we do another project together? Does that, what makes sense? And I can't control that either, right? I can't control how people act or how they respond to that, or losing money is never what you want to do, right? That's never the place. But it was all out of integrity for me. And that's how I had to act is in integrity. And I tried to do my best and hey, how do we make this work together? Here's the reality of the situation. We're experiencing massive depreciation. We're not selling these houses. We're not going to sell them for what we thought we were going to sell. How do we do this? Do you want to take the property back? Do you want to turn it into a rental? Can we do something else? I explored all the options with them, and ultimately I let them decide, right? What do you want to do? And how do we work together? And this wasn't a position that I thought would be best for us, and not again, something that I took all the fault was on me, right? I'm saying, yeah, it was my fault. But looking back at that, there were some things that I just couldn't control, and they're okay. They understand that's the nature of the business, and there is risk involved in any investment, whether it's in stock markets or real estate or crypto or whatever, right? There's always a risk that you could potentially lose money. And so just knowing that risk. But for me, it was being sincere about, hey, I really wanted to pay them back, or I wanted to help them, or I wanted to figure out the best option. And I felt like there's probably some bridges that have been burned with investors, but other people since I had an investor that we lost 70 grand on, right? For a perfect example. And I was very transparent with him, and we went through everything. We had to put some more money in the property, so I had to do a cash call with him. And he called me about a month ago, and he's like, hey man, I'd really like to hire you as my COO. And I was like, that's crazy, right? He's like, I know that you're a high-end operator, and I know that it sucks, and we still have a grudge that I lost 70 grand with you. But he's like, I see that you're a true person that acts with integrity, and you tried your best. And I told him, I was like, dude, I appreciate that offer. I don't really want to go be a COO for someone else, but I was like, it's cool that he had that conversation with me. And it's because of what I did 2 years ago when we lost money on that deal. Right. And so cool for him for, how he could approach that situation. And for me, it was like, hey, I definitely did my best. So if you're in that situation, my advice to you is just be transparent and just take that next step forward. Right. And sometimes we don't know what it is, but you have to move. You have to take direction. Being stale and idle doesn't help you. It just makes the situation worse, right? So I had to keep moving. I had to keep grinding, as painful as it is to have those conversations. You just have to keep taking that next step forward.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Really, really good stuff. I really like how, man, it sounds like this situation sort of depicted what I've learned with employees, and I guess you could say how I judge them, and frankly how they judge me. It's not about how much of a top performer you are when everything's great, and how nice you are when everything's great, or how it's about how you perform when everything sucks, and the decisions you make when everything's against you and it's not fair and the tables are turned. And so it's so cool to see that despite the loss, that investor was like, man, the loss says something, but what speaks a ton louder is how he handled that whole situation and kept your composure, so to speak, amidst the other millions of dollars that you were dealing with and everything like that. So man, that's so cool. And again, I feel like to your confidence, it has to like really reaffirm some beliefs and really strengthen like your ability to, lean in and like double down on yourself and know like, hey, you can figure this out.
Yeah. And it's not easy. No one ever said that it's easy, right? Like to do that and to go through all that. Like it was probably the worst 18 months of my life going through that from 22 to, even up into 24. It was like, that was a challenge. And I was just in a dark place. And yeah, luckily I had the right people in my corner. Again, I'm a people person. So it was cool for me that I didn't have to be the leader, that people I knew had my back. Right. And that meant a lot to me, is that having a community and having a sense of like people are cheering you on and encouraging you. And that, because they're telling you the story that you should be telling yourself. Hey man, like you're the smartest guy I know, and you're the best house flipper in the country, and you're all this, and you're telling yourself otherwise, right? Like, so it's good to have that reassuring voice. And sometimes it's not yours, but when you change that narrative and it does become yours, that voice that you're telling yourself is like, hey, like I can't control what happened and I can't control any of that other stuff, but man, like get ready because I'm coming back. Right. And I can control what I can control now. And I'm just stoked because now I see opportunities so much differently now. Because now I'm like, man, I have too much opportunity. Like I need to slow down on opportunity. I need to get back to the basics and what am I really good at? But yeah, man. So it's been a good experience, and whatever life for your listeners, like I hope they get something out of this, that we all have trials. We all have hard times. We all have faith experiences that we have to rely on something, right? That it's like, hey, what is that thing that could get me through this? And yeah, for me, I was spending a lot of time on my knees and figuring out what the next path was, and how do I just come back to that priority of being with my kids, and going back to that 18, you only get 18 summers. I thought I might only get 3 with my 3-year-old. And man, you can bet that like I've just changed that narrative, that I take him to school every day and I pick him up from school every day, because that's more important to me than making millions of dollars and all of that, because I can always make more money. I can't always get more time with my 3-year-old. And so whatever you're doing and whatever experience you're having in life, and loss is that key word that you mentioned, right? Loss of money, loss of a job, loss of family. Like I did it all. I lost it all. And for me, like you just have to change that narrative. Get a small win for yourself. Like, how can I win? And have some small ounce of confidence that you are good enough and that you are strong enough and that you have enough resources and that you can figure this out, and time will be on your side, that it's not easy and it's not painless, but you can do it. And as cliche as that sounds, right? And that I hated it when people were like, hey, it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. And I'm like, you don't know that it's going to be okay. Yeah. But it really will. Like it really is. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Like you just have to get through it and keep moving forward. And it does, right? Like it's funny how that all works out, is that you can achieve whatever you want. You just have to believe that you can do that. So there's your motivation for today. But I know everyone's going through something. And so whatever that something is, like know that it's going to be okay. And I know that sounds cliche, but I've been there, I've done that, and you'll get through it just like I did.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Perspective is a funny thing, but as you pointed out, it really is about perspective and the stories you tell yourself. And man, I do this over and over again. I'll have somebody call me with some decision, some event, something, and I'm just being purely logical. And I'm like, my perspective is just, hey, it's going to be okay. Or, hey, yeah, you should fire them. Like you just told me if they do A, B, and C, they're done. And they did A, B, and C. So fire them. Easy decision, right? But for them and the stories they're telling themselves and their perspective, it's like, oh, well, but I can't, or this or that, or whatever it is. And it's really hard to see, but once you're able to step into that and kind of like shift that perspective, it's like, oh my gosh, like what was I doing the whole time? So like for me, more and more, I'm like, man, why can I or how can I is really the question. Like, how can I give myself the same advice that I'm giving other people? I mean, I've quite literally told somebody before, like, hey man, I need your input on this, but I think I know what you're going to say, because this is what I would tell you, but I just don't believe it right now. And then they'll say back to me the same thing. And they're like, I don't know why you don't believe it. Like, let's kind of look into that, but like, you need to. And that's been a little more helpful. But like, really, man, like you hit the nail on the head with it. Like the stories and the perspective shift. And it is very cliche, but like, yeah, man, like it's going to be okay. It will keep moving forward, keep taking action. Like it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I heard this quote today when I was running, and I wrote it down. It says, the right perspective makes the possible possible. Man, and like, that's what it is. The right perspective makes the possible possible. Like, I can do this. So and I can change that perspective and that narrative of, hey, I'm a failure and I don't belong here and I shouldn't be doing this, into like, hey, like I'm going to make the possible possible now. Like, I know I can make money. I know I can build that back. I know I can do all those things. And it's just that simple voice in your head, right? That perspective saying that you can do something. So yeah, I agree 100% with you, man. Perspective is everything.
I love it, dude. I love it. Tyler, on that note, what's on the horizon for you? I know now it's next chapter. Where are you headed? What can we expect from you? And if you would share with our listeners, like where they can connect with you and join in for more of your journey and everything like that.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. So next for me, man, I'm excited to come back on this podcast in a year. And then we have a very different conversation. So just put it in your calendar now. You're going to book me in a year, and we'll have the comeback story. We'll have another chapter in that comeback story. No, what's next for me, man? I'm excited to just get back and conquer the world and do my thing and kind of create that story, right? Of that narrative in my head now. I have very clear direction of what I want to do and where I want to go, and that belief that it's going to happen. And I'm excited to kind of take that on. But yeah, for me, like my biggest thing, and if you want to connect with me, like I'm very big into the 7-figure flipping community. And if you don't know what that is, like we teach people how to flip houses. We teach people how to have, the main goal is threefold, right? We have this thing, it's called the Freedom Award. And what the Freedom Award is we teach people how to have time freedom. Financial freedom is that second pillar. And the third freedom is to be able to give back. And so giving back, we started a foundation. It's called the 7-Figure Foundation. We also call it Global Impact Initiative, right? Depending on where you're from. But the 7-Figure Foundation, to me, is that outlet to give back, and doing a lot of coaching calls and stuff like that has been really cool. So if you want one-on-one coaching, 7-Figure Flipping is the place to go. Like I love coaching people. I give a ton of time to that every week. But a great resource. I know, Devin, you've been in that group for a long time and definitely can see the changes in your life and in your business just from connecting with the right people and the right group. And yeah, man, that's kind of what's next for me. Is I'm going to continue to do those three things, right? How do I figure out financial freedom? How do I have some time freedom to spend time with my kids and my family? And then how do I give back? And that's the highest priority for me, man. That's what's next, is how do I give more and make more money so I can give more money, right? That's the whole idea, is how do I be successful so I can help other people? I can bring other people with me.
I love it. I love it. What about social media? Are you on social media, Instagram,
Facebook?
Yeah,
find me on Facebook, Tyler Jensen on Facebook. I'm not a huge social media guy. Like I feel like priorities, right? I get my attention. I talked about that already, right?
Yep.
I fall into a rabbit hole if I'm on.
I do too.
On social media, so
especially you, because you're a people person. You're like, totally. I want to see what everyone's up to.
Yeah, and then it's 3 hours later. I'm like, dude, I didn't do anything today. Like,
I love it.
Yeah,
that's so good.
Hit me up, social media. You can always find me at 7-Figure Flipping. I'm always in that community pretty heavily. So yeah, perfect. Man. Here, whatever you need, open, and if you want to hop on a call and whatever, I love doing stuff like that too. So
awesome. Well, Tyler, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for offering. I can't wait to have you on around this time again next year, see where you're at. Dude, we'll make sure that we add that for our listeners to the show notes. Thank you all for joining in again. Until next time, we'll see you.